Hi, friends. This is going to be a reading of a short story that I had recently written based on a dream that I've had from the perspective of my father when he was quite young, traveling to the city to attend college. And it really got me thinking of the extent to which I really don't understand my parents as people. And I feel like that is just a sudden realization that hits every one of us once we reach a stage in our own personal development of how rich and complex the inner lives of the people who raise us really are, and that we should get to know that before, it's too late. If there's one thing to take away from the story, however, if there's like this one specific intentional thing that I really want you to just sort of, take as a lesson. I'm 19, I'm not supposed to be giving life lessons, but a central message would be to call your parents. Even if you may not be on the best of terms with them, it might not even necessarily be your parents, just someone that you look up to as like a parental figure. Call them and ask them about an experience that maybe you find some resonance in. Because the sort of only way that I find to be able to have healed the divide between that generational gap of like the lived experiences that I have had and my dads have had is just sort of to be curious in what is it that he has undergo that led him to be the person that he was when he was raising me and the person he is now. It's a really fascinating thing, and I think anyone who has had this sort of conversation or experience or realization before. So without any further ado, I present to you Memorabilia. The bridge rose out of the mangrove flats like an old spine. Its concrete pocked with moss and rust, its guardrails edges with decades of initials. The locals called it Vidrian Bridge, though the blue paint had long since peeled to a disaffecting gray. Beneath it, the river flowed thick and brown, curling with foam where it met the salt. Fishing boats rock against their moorings, hulls scarred by barnacles and years of tide. The young man paddled hard. The wind shot with brine and the faint reek of dried squid from the market below. Every rotation of the change created a high metallic whine that echoed against the bridge's belly. The city shimmered from a far bank, a sprawl of lights just starting to flicker awake. Cranes and high-rises rising like the teeth of some slow-moving machine. His breath came fast, stinging his throat. The air here carried 1,000 different smells. Of wet cement, of burnt sugar from a nearby street vendor's cart, or of gasoline's residue leaking from a motorbike that had just sputtered out behind him. The Sony Walkman thudded softly against his chest as he rode. The cassette inside was one that he spliced together on an old deck at home. Songs from the wartime when his father still had both legs. He sang along as he rode past the factory floors and the banners of red cloth drying under a dimly lighted sun. He'd probably rather have the blues in Chuck Berry's Silver Strings, but the world only gave him the reds and the yellows. A gust hit him sideways, the bridge groaned. He stood on the pedals, leaning forward, eyes watering as the lights ahead blurred. 50 kilometers. Little did he know that this won't be his longest ride, though for surely longer than that walk north years ago to the campus built on the hill where the radio tower blinked at night. He still remembered the smell of the dorm walls and of the mold and chalk over the atmosphere of the classroom with the brightest quantitative minds he would ever be surrounded by. He walked that same road again a month later, just that the slap of his sandals sounded slower then, with each step echoing heavy what he hadn't become. The words from his father had followed him then and now again. Our bloodline was not made for books, son. Hands like ours were meant for more honest work. Woodwork. But he could not stay. He could not live and die watching the same tide roll in. The bridge began to dip, the road angling down towards the mainland now. He has felt the hurriedness of the wind and the sudden warmth rising from the lowlands, the faint smell of exhaust and fried shallots drifting up from the stalls from the toll gate. The asphalt glistened, and then, in that half second of silence, the front wheel slid, a smear of oil, rainbow fin hidden in the shadow. The handlebars jerked sideways, gravity lunged, the cassette player shot from his pocket as the tape clattered against the guardrail before spinning off into the dark. His knees hit first, his skin tore with blood smearing across the grid. His palms burned where they met the road. He laid there, chest heaving, with the whole bridge now vibrating along the passage of a distant truck. Salt, iron, the stink of dust between his teeth, the sound of blood rushing in, all over his ears now louder than the river below. The whole world trembling in the thin film of oil under his cheek, reflecting a slice of sky, the same color of pewter. From somewhere near the gutter came from the faint, teeny sound of the Walkman still playing. The singer's voice trembled to the static, singing the chorus again and again. For once, total silence. Except, well, more music, the faint hiss of tape turning somewhere else close, a voice stretched thin by decades. Someone, somewhere, blinked. When they opened their eyes again, the air was still thick with salt, but colder now, drier, still full of dust. The hum has changed, not wind, but a soft buzz of a single bulb swaying from a lower rafter. The ceiling, pressed close, is board spotted with water stains that bloomed like continents. They, or he, was still laying on his back. The grain of the floor bit into his palms, dust clung to his skin, tasting like paper and mothballs. The smell of rain had turned into rye. It's the stubborn clock striking 2 in the afternoon. He turned his head, there, half buried beneath a canvas sheet. The cassette player whirled, the same one his father once carried. The voice kept singing, thin and warped, as if from underwater. He sat up, heart racing, and stayed there for a moment in the decaying air of the attic. His mouth tasted like iron fading, and for a moment, he could not tell whose heartbeat he was listening to. And only then he understood. He had just woken up from his father's memory.